How's it going, everyone? So, really, what I want to do today is essentially give you a no fluff, no holds bar. Like, I'm going to give you basically 10 steps if you were starting from basically ground zero of what you would want to do pivoting into customer success. Now, I've pivoted into customer success. I came from hospitality, and it's a competitive market, right? And it might take a while to do this. So, and a lot of people come to me about, wanting to make this change, the mindset, and I even made a post recently about that. It's the hottest career right now in tech. And I stand by that in SaaS and tech. And, a lot of people are looking for really tangible ways to get into this, and learning and resources, right? So this is really what I'm trying to do in this kind of this longer form content. But what I really want to try to go through here is like actionable 10 steps to pivot into customer success and really like what you would want to do. Literally, I don't know anything like about customer success in SaaS, B2B, and I want to pivot into it. What are these steps, right, that people should be taking, right? So let's get into this. Okay, so, and really my goal here is to cut out the fluff and everything. Is I want to go from content to action, right? Yes, I have a coaching program. Yes, I have other resources. Yes, I have a newsletter, right? So I have plenty of options available. But really, what I want to do here is like I want to give you a lot of value, because I really want to make sure I can pay it forward, and I want to make sure that you all have these necessary steps. And it could be a lot of redundancy, but it also could be just easy to see these actions laid out, right? So as you can see here, like these are really 10 steps you need to pivot into customer success. And this is really the key part, is job ready to at least get deep into the round. Because there is going to become a point where maybe you are in the third or fourth round, traditionally maybe 4 rounds of interviews during the customer success process. And you may need help from a coach or a mentor to literally get you to that last hurdle, right? And that's a little bit more nuanced of you have your reps, but you've done all the work to get to that point, right? This is really what I want to say is, whether you're in education, you're a transitioning teacher, which I get a lot, occupational therapy, healthcare, finance, SDRs, account managers, right? A lot of people are looking for this hospitality, so, and a lot of people they don't have the foundational maybe knowledge. So this is really kind of what I want to start with. So again, like understanding what customer success actually is. Yes, we work as a relationship manager. Yes, we're driving outcomes, right? And that's really kind of the foundation of what you want is, it's not a support role. It's not a customer service traditional role, like where I came from hotels, and like you're going to be like at the front desk working for people, in their reactive problems, transactional, transient guests, or even in that kind of nature, right? This is, you have a portfolio of companies that have paid an ARR, a subscription type based model, right? That have come for your software service to provide business outcomes compared to the competition. You, as that customer success manager, are to understand those business needs, those objectives, those outcomes, and get them using your tool, features, upselling along the way to get them the value, the return on investment with strategic engagement, right? So as you can really think about it, when you're looking for jobs, those are sort of like the buzzwords, if you want to call them, that you're looking for. And to make sure that you're actually getting a customer success manager job and not just a support role. If there's anything that's heavily reliant on like CSAT, NPS is fine. But again, like these like initial NPS, CSAT, those are going to be more associate roles and probably a little bit more like operational roles. Once you get more into churn, ARR, retention, those types of rates, and tied to expansion dollars, quotas, then you're going to be geared more towards the customer success manager route. And especially too, then you kind of just want to make sure that like you're also post sales, and it's not something like you're just kind of also doing the pre-sales lead gen part, and it's not completely account manager driven where your essential goal is just having a quota and upselling, right? Customer success at the end of the day is relationship building, and it's getting the success for the client. So you want to make sure you're multi-threading the organization, you're having productive conversations with your clients, In my world, it's it's HR tech. So I work with hiring managers, recruiters for an ATS software. So I need to get the buy-in from the CHRO and the CFO who signed the contract that we're meeting their business objectives compared to the competition. What is our value prop? And I need to showcase that to them monthly and quarterly. Learn the language. I have actual specific course on this, like within my actual coaching program. I think it's one of the more, I don't want to say underrated, but it's one of the more like people don't talk about this a lot. And the more, it's like with anything, right? If you are a sports person, if you are a foodie, right? People are going to kind of cluster around other foodie people that like speak the lingo, right? I like to work out, so like I understand 1RM rep max. I understand the lingo, that workout people. If you're not in that world and you're trying to break into that world, it's hard to familiarize yourself because everyone is sort of a community. It's human nature. It's psychology, right? The more you can learn the lingo, the history, the top players, the companies, the influencers, the better you will be able to navigate those conversations and be able to put yourself ahead of the competition, whether it's personal branding, the communication, your content during the interviews, that you understand not only the hard skills and the soft skills that it takes to do the job, but you understand, what LTV CAC means. You understand what the rule of 40 means. You know what venture-backed private equity firms mean. Are you a cost of goods kind of thing, or are you OpEx? Like you understand from a finance perspective and a SaaS perspective, what you are, right? And not only just like, oh, churn or onboarding, like you can intelligently like have this mindset of like, I did this. And that this was one of these big things. This was a big learning curve for me, which was like hotels. I was like, well, I kind of do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But like the more you do this and more you can kind of filter out your industry specific terms and mirror them or start to substitute this language, read more, join groups, watch these types of videos, right? The better, because then you will understand like you're in the same familiarity, right? And you can really think about that, like with sports people, like if people just are rattling off RBIs, OPS. If you don't know baseball, like you don't know what I'm talking about, right? You might understand, like, yeah, sure, I can swing a bat, but like they are going to look at people who know those terms just naturally, right? And that just helps you build that rapport in the interview process too. Audit your transferable skills, and I'm just going to add skills in general. I'm a big advocate during my coaching of skills, and it doesn't necessarily need to be just transferable skills. Like I get it, like map your past experiences and CS skills. You should have everything. You should have communication, time management, productivity, conflict resolution, right? And then start to map maybe what you did in your previous jobs with those examples and write it down. Literally write it down into buckets. Write down empathy and write down 2 or 3 stories or buckets. Write down time management. Because I guarantee you that's probably going to be something that they're going to ask you. Maybe not necessarily empathy, but they're going to ask you like, how do you communicate with a VP, a point of contact, and an individual contributor? How do you communicate differently to those people? So have that skills ready, and not just the ability to communicate, but like, can you articulate that in an interview setting, right? Time management is big. And I think this is a big one where, it can kind of be both. It kind of be a hard skill. The hard skill, I think, is more like what tools and software do you use? And you will probably get this a lot in your interview process in questions, is whether it's a remote, hybrid. Customer success ultimately is a client-facing job. You are probably, if you're not in like kind of digital SMB, but if you're in more of like the mid-market enterprise, white glove, like where you're actually like larger ticket clients, bigger outcomes, you're going to be face-to-face with them. So you're going to need to manage that, and your time management skills, the tools, the productivity, how you actually track everything is going to be paramount. So if you have specifics and not just that I'm good at it and I just prioritize my day, like if you have specifics and walk them through your day, And I kind of do a little bit of this in my newsletter and other interviews, and you hear this a lot from other customer success managers, is that's very high quality and important to do. In relationship building, write down the examples, literally write them down, right? And you see this a lot in self-help books as well, is you want to write these examples down, memorize them as much as you can. This one's I think a couple of these kind of go without saying, but they're important. And it's, again, this is 10 steps of like, you are hitting the ground running right now. Like, you should do these things, take these audits, literally get a notebook or a doc, write them down, optimize your LinkedIn. How? Watch YouTube channels, research this, look at people that have the jobs that you want to get to, right? Revamp your headline that's specific, an industry tagline, strong in these certain skill sets, right? Those are going to be keywords that are going to be able to be searched in sourcing tools, that are going to be important. Recruiters will be able to use these in headlines. Make sure you have a location. Make sure you have a proper headshot, right? Make sure you have a communicative banner that says what you do, and a couple keywords in there as well, right? So make sure you're optimizing your LinkedIn, recommendations, skills, everything's clean and concise. Learn from real CSMs, right? Start following people, engage on their comment. The more you can build your brand, I can't say this enough, the more exposure you will just naturally get. B, you will also get more influence from other people that are hiring, or that you will then be sent almost reactively jobs, because now you're connected with people and your network is larger. So you have a larger percentage and pool of people that you can fall back to if you ever need a job, or just to reach out to in general, right? Engage, like them, showcase to people outwardly why you would be a good fit and a value for that job. And I'm seeing a lot more people do that, which is great. I love to see that. Again, these ones aren't critical, but I think these are good just for the knowledge building. Again, if you have no idea what this is, take some free courses. HubSpot, Success Hacker, LinkedIn Learning. I have courses. There's paid courses. There's free courses. There's books, right? Customer Success U is a good example. You can take certifications, right? And then you can post them on LinkedIn. You can get people to actually support and like you. You can tag people which is good, again, on the personal branding component. But again, you can put these things to add at least a sense of credibility, that you can speak the language, you know the industry. That way, the people just have more confidence that like you understand the terms, you understand like what this role entails, right? Start networking with intention, right? And I don't really fall into like either bucket, whether it's just mass applying for volume or all out networking. I kind of fall in the middle, because like there is truth in both, right? Is I've landed jobs purely from referrals and networking, and I've also just landed jobs, or at least intrigue of responses and interviews from mass applying. I think there's validity in both, right? Do some A/B testing, try them both. But again, if the further away you are from the spectrum, right? If you're looking at the sliding scale, and this is, you have, 2, 4, 6 years of experience of CSM experience, you can probably get away with a little bit more, I don't want to say passive, but your resume already is going to kind of speak volumes, where like it's probably not going to be passed over in the parsing or the ATS, right? You're at least going to probably be in the recruiting screening pipeline, right? Because you have the keywords, you have SaaS, and you have multiple years of customer success. The further away you are from that, if you're just in a completely different industry, that's probably where, the volume approach you can do, it's probably going to get exhausting, especially if you don't have sort of like this analytical kind of mindset where I have this Excel or Teal or Kick Resume or whatever tracker you're using, where like it just becomes a second job almost, and that's fine. If you like to do that, where you might want to do 5 to 10 jobs a day, so if you think about a week, you're kind of looking to 25 to 50 per week, so again, if you're looking for 50, you're looking for a few hundred. Can you get 200 to 400 a month is basically what you're trying to do, and it might even be more than that, right? So can you get 500 applications per month? So you can see like there is a certain point, but there's a lot of work involved in that, which there is definitely validity. But I've seen, that if you're sort of maybe in your sales and AE, insurance, somewhere in the middle where you have those quantifiable metrics, sometimes it's a little bit easier to sort of do a blend. You still want the volume, right? You don't want to just apply for like one job, even if you are in occupational therapy or something totally irrelevant, or far away from SaaS customer success, right? But I think that's where the networking, is going to be more paramount. Join groups, follow up with people, post content, right? The more you can kind of do that is going to be really good. Have a good approach, right? Connect with 5 people a day, apply to 2 to 3 jobs per day, connect with 5 people a day, and then engage on 5, posts and comments a day. And I think that trend over that, week will pay dividends, track everything, create a portfolio, notes from podcasts, lessons from interviews, response from common CS interview questions, all very important. And again, apply for entry roles, CS adjacent roles, whether that's if you have a project manager's background, maybe an onboarding manager is good. If you already are maybe a support person, maybe that company has a well-developed CS department where you can get a support role for a year and then pivot into the CSM job, right? Can you become a account manager for a role, or an SDR at a company, again, that has a CS department, and then pivot into that upward mobility company that you like, right? Onboarding specialist, renewal specialist, associate CSM, all of these. And again, keep posting and engaging, right? These are 3 things. Why I'm pivoting, keep doing that, because that will become more relevant. You'll get more traction. Your personal brand will go. People will follow you more. You'll get more engaged. And again, it'll showcase that you know what you want. You understand the industry. You understand the lingo. You understand what you're doing, right? Honestly, it builds visibility, shows initiative, and attracts support and referrals, right? So again, if you want to work with me or a mentor, I think that's definitely good to accelerate your process, whether that's just a resume deep dive, whether that's interview prep and coaching courses. But again, someone also too, just to kind of accountability, which I've seen a lot, where people want that accountability approach, where it's like, okay, let's track your progress every Friday, right? And how many of these things did you do? Did you have a tracker? Let's revamp what you did this week. We'll make a plan for next week, right? So I think those are always good too, in your arsenal. So again, I hope this helps. And these are kind of the things, and a lot of these are then going to be just rinse and repeat, right? Do each one of these for a 30 to 90 day period, and then rinse and repeat, and then see what works, track things, journal, write notes, get feedback as you can, and then flip the script if you need to after 90 days, or seek an alternative path. So again, reach out to me if you want to learn anything more, and